looking a little rough today. So today is uh, November 19th, 2020. And last year on this day um, was the beginning of, I would say, the beginning of my spiritual journey. Even though I feel like your spiritual journey starts the day you're born. Some people don't realize it, and some people don't understand what their spiritual journey is, the different aspects of their spiritual journey, the direction they need to go in, and things of that nature. So, a little background into what kind of thrust me into my spiritual journey. So, today, on this date last year, I found out that I had blood clots in my lungs and clots in my left leg. And I found this out. I was actually training. I was supposed to turn pro in December. Pro MMA fighter. I was supposed to turn pro in December, and I was having complications with my breathing, and I was fatigued all the time and getting dizzy. I had dizzy spells, and I didn't understand like what was going on. I was training full time. I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I was doing, I guess, daddy duties, taking care of my children, as well as maintaining my relationship with my partner. So I wouldn't say that I was all over the place. I just had a full schedule. And so working at night and training twice a day and working at my other job and spending time with my kids and spending time with my partner. And I started juicing, changing my diet because I was fighting at 205, and then I was going down to 185 to turn pro. And what I mean by juicing, I don't mean like taking steroids. Like juicing, I was starting to like juice, fresh juice. Not a liquid diet, but I was having, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and I had started a food journal. And in my food journal, I was documenting what I was eating, what I was drinking, and how I was feeling in my body. And actually, one of the issues that I was having neck issues, and I went to the doctors to check out what was wrong with my neck. She wanted me to get an x-ray, and she was telling me that I needed to slow down like on my training regimen because it was just aggravating my neck even more. So I kind of didn't listen, especially because I didn't want to move the date back to when I was supposed to turn pro. So I kind of just pushed through that issue. And again, I was having issues with my neck, and I was writing that down. I was having issues with my breathing, and I was writing that down in my journal as well. And my partner, she kept telling me, I need to get that looked at. I need to get that checked out. And one of the things that I didn't want to do was be told that I couldn't fight because, I look forward to turning pro. So I was trying to do everything that I needed to do in order to turn pro on time. Not necessarily on time, but when I wanted to, when I had it scheduled to turn pro. So that was something I was looking forward to. So I didn't want to stop that momentum that I had going. I had just had a title fight in September, and that ended up in a draw, but I retained the title. And so again, my set date, I was approved to turn pro in December, so I was looking forward to that. So the issues were ongoing. It was even hard for me to, I believe my son at the time was 2. My youngest son was 2, so it was even hard for me to pick him up, to put him in his car seat. I was getting fatigued just doing that. And I just kind of brushed it off to overtraining and not let my body rest properly. So one night at work, I kind of ran up the steps. It was a light jog up the steps, and I got like real dizzy and like almost passed out. I had to like sit down for like 20 minutes just to regain my composure. So at that point, I kind of got a little concerned because I never got winded like running up the steps, even if I'm like not in shape. So I decided that I was going to get the situation looked at, and I was kind of putting that off as well. But one night before I went to work, I was actually leaving my boy's house and I was coming home, and I was like, I was going to stop in urgent care. So I stopped in urgent care. It was like probably 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. And so it was like one doctor that was left there. And so she saw me and I explained to her about like what the issue was and how I was feeling. So they put the oxygen thing on my finger and just had me walk up and down the hall. So my oxygen level was already low. It was like at 80% oxygen. And then when I walked down the hall, it dropped down to like 60 or 50 or something like that. So she was like really concerned, and she was like, I need you to go to the ER because we don't have the equipment here to do the x-rays and things like that. And she was like, you could have clots in your lungs. And at that time, it was like, I was kind of like, okay, I'll go get it checked out. But in my mind, I was actually going to go to work, but she made me sign like a paper saying that I was liable if I left the urgent care and didn't go straight to the ER from there. She didn't want me to drive. So it was that serious. So I was like, well, since she's making me sign this paper, it must be kind of serious. So I decided to call my partner. I called out from work. I called my partner, and she came and picked me up and took me to the ER that night. What's the matter? All right, I'm gonna come up there in a second, okay? All right. Sorry about that. So, she took me to the ER, and I got all the tests and stuff ran, and yeah, so it came back that I had large blood clots in both of my lungs and in my left leg, all up and down my left leg. So the doctors didn't understand like how I actually made it to the hospital, because I had the symptoms for about 2 weeks because I was writing it down. Like I said, I had a journal, so I was writing it down. So it was about 2 weeks that I was going through the condition that I was in. And the doctor basically said, like, when you get to that stage, the stage that I was at, like, most people don't make it. So it was like, a lot of people were kind of dumbfounded as to how I lasted for 2 weeks with clots in my lungs and in my leg, and still training and still going to work and still doing the things that I was doing on a daily basis. So that is kind of like, and they basically told me that I couldn't, train anymore. I couldn't fight anymore. And I guess my career was ending before it even really started. So, come here. So, yeah, so that was basically the setup of what kind of launched me on my spiritual journey that I'm on right now. And so from that point on, I was kind of basically, I had 6 months off from work, and I was kind of housebound at the moment in the beginning because it was that serious. They said, I might not wake up if I go to sleep. At any point in time, I wouldn't be able to drive by myself because the clots were in my lungs and those had to break down. And you know, they did the blood work and things like that. I was in the hospital probably 2 or 3 days, and they did the blood work, and they couldn't understand like where the clots came from, how I got them, why they were there, because most people that get them are either older or they have jobs where they're like sitting down there and they're not doing anything. In my job, I was very active. I was very active as a fighter, and I haven't had any trauma or anything like that. Maybe a year before that, I had walked like probably 2 miles, and then my leg had swelled up. But that was like a year before everything had happened. So it was like kind of a mystery as to what was going on. Yes. Okay. So trying to figure out, it's napkins over there. Out there, over there, on the floor. So they were trying to figure out, you know, exactly what happened, and you know, to this day, they still don't know what happened. And one of the crazy things that happened right there, on the floor, a napkin. Yes. One of the craziest things I forgot to mention is so the doctor, the last doctor that was in the urgent care, she told me, she was like, you know, most people don't, you know, listen to advice that is given, and she wanted to know that I went to the ER, and she wanted to know like what they said when I went to the ER. So she gave me her contact information, and she told me to let her know what happened. And like to this day, like I still can't find that nurse. I don't know. Well, that doctor, like I wasn't able to contact her. She hasn't been back to that urgent care again. She's not in any of the other surrounding urgent care. So it's like, you know, she was kind of like an angel for me. She like showed up at the right time and was there when I needed her and gave me the advice that I needed. And I actually took the advice, and she basically sent me to the ER to these amazing doctors that were there that night, because the ER was busy. They actually had me and my partner. We were in the, we was joking about this earlier today. We was like in the hallway, like that's how packed the hospital was. Like they had us, I see, they had us in the hallway. So I was in the hallway for like hours, and we just like watched patients go back and forth, and we watched the doctors and the nurses go back and forth. And have a seat, Koala Bear.
I can't see.
And so, yeah, those doctors that were there, and the doctor that I met at the urgent care, she was like an angel for me. And the other doctors were just amazing. They took care of me, made sure I was okay, and set me up with a doctor as outpatient. And that was amazing too. So yeah, that was the beginning and the setup for my spiritual journey, and me just being home, me having time to be still, because I was all over the place. I was running around, and at one point in time, like I said in the beginning, you know, I was having neck issues, and my primary doctor told me that I needed to slow down, I needed to take a break. And I just kept pushing, it. And then, you know, within a month or so after that, it was like a major shift in my life. And it was like, you know, if I'm not slowing down when I'm supposed to, then this is going to be a major roadblock or a major wake-up call for me to slow down, and for me to really start to be still and listen to myself, and turn inward instead of forcing everything on the outside of my life. And I had that time to actually sit down, and I was already into meditation, and I meditated a lot, and meditations helped me through my last 2 fights actually. And I'm going to make a video on that, on how meditation and overthinking actually helped me prepare for my last 2 fights. So stay tuned for that video. But yeah, I had time to actually start looking inward and start a more consistent meditation practice. And that's when things started moving forward for me as far as my spiritual awakening. And me and my partner, we actually got into a routine. We would like read certain books at night and watch videos that were in alignment with what we wanted our life to look like. And I was watching a lot of meditation videos, and I forgot who it was that I was watching, but they were saying, you know, if you wake up in the middle of the night, like around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that means like basically your spirit guides are trying to talk to you, or you know, your higher self is trying to get in contact with you at that time. So you should meditate, and that's what I did. It was crazy because that night when I saw that video, I woke up and it was around 3 o'clock, and I started meditating, and I felt like the energy go through my body. And my meditations at that time, because it was consistent for almost a month, I was writing in my journal every time I meditated. My meditations were like no shorter than a half hour to 45 minutes. And then they were as long as 2 to 3 hours. And I wasn't necessarily on a schedule to wake up, so it was okay to wake up in the middle of the night to meditate for these long periods of time. And I had visions, and I had better understanding of certain knowledge that I was coming across. And I was coming across a lot of knowledge that I didn't have to look for. It was just like I was getting knowledge through meditations and gaining better understanding of knowledge that I already had through these meditations. And it's just been amazing ever since then. And like I said, I was out for 6 months.
Daddy.
Yes. No, not right now. In a little bit, okay? So I was out for probably 6 or 7 months from work. And during that time, I just really had a chance to connect with myself, and I didn't have any distractions as to, you know, on the outside. On the outside, I didn't have to worry about work. I didn't have to worry about training. I really just had to worry about my health inside and out, and worry about what I was consuming, the knowledge that I was consuming, the foods that I was consuming. And yeah, so I was already vegetarian, and that was another thing that I transitioned into in January of 2020. I transitioned into being a full vegan. And I think overall, like this whole experience from last year up until now was just preparing me for a lot of things that's going on in the world right now, and just not letting it affect me on any level whatsoever. And like this year was a very trying year for my family and for friends and things of that nature. So I feel like that me getting sick and me being able to be still and go within help prepare me for what was to come, and still was to come, because you know, we don't really know what else is going to happen, but we can only mentally, spiritually prepare for those things, and physically through what we eat and staying in shape and things of that nature. But again, everything that I went through, seemingly from last year or this time, where they tell me I shouldn't even be alive, to now having a spiritual awakening and having a better understanding of who I am, what I'm capable of, why I'm here. And those are things that I'm still learning to this day, because it's like a never-ending journey. And like I said, I feel like your spiritual journey starts when you're born. You just don't understand it yet. And some people, they never get to understand it. And I'm just glad at my age, I still had I was still able to come to that understanding and actually go down the path to further myself in this spiritual journey. And having people alongside me, my partner, is very supportive of me along my spiritual journey. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people don't want to understand it, but it's not for me to convince them or make them want to understand it. But yeah, so again, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that because last year on this date was profound for me, and I'm just thankful that I was able to go through it and come out on the other side of it. I might still be going through it. Like I said, it's a never-ending journey, but yeah, it's just been amazing. The milestones that I've been reaching and everything that I've been going through, and just being able to keep moving forward through everything. You done? So, yeah, I'm just excited to see what else is going to come from this. And one thing that I thought about that I didn't quite understand. I felt like a lot of people that I came across that was going through their spiritual journey, like something profound happened in their life, like they almost died or they did die, and then they came back and then they started going through their spiritual journey, had their spiritual awakening and things like that. And I'm like, well, you know, I had my spiritual awakening and like I never went through anything like that. And then I looked back and I was like, oh yeah, the doctors did say like, you know, I shouldn't be here. Like, you know, with everything that I was going through and the way that how active I was with clots in my lungs, like I should have unfortunately like passed away, like an untimely type death, but that didn't happen. And just looking back, it was like, so I did go through one of those experiences where, you know, it was a near-death experience or it was an unfortunate experience, traumatizing experience, and I was able to come out on the other end. And all right, say hi and then go back. Say hey.
Hi.
All right, go back over there.
All
All right, we get ready to go back up. We get ready to go upstairs, okay? So I'm just thankful for everything that I've been through. And this is my youngest son. He was not this big. He was a lot smaller, and it was harder for me to pick him up and put him in his car seat when I was going through the things that I was going through. But yeah, I just appreciate everything. I appreciate life, and I appreciate understanding. I appreciate the people around me, and I appreciate the people that left my life when they left my life. And I appreciate the people that are coming in my life when they do, because it all has meaning. And of course, we all don't always understand. Of course, we don't always understand what the meaning is until it's too late. But hopefully, you do understand everything that goes on in your life. So just after watching this, guys, meditate, dig deep. If you haven't had your spiritual awakening, I'm sure it's right around the corner. Don't wait until you go through something traumatic to have your spiritual awakening. They say chase it without chasing it. So go ahead and chase it without chasing it. Have fun with it while taking it serious, but don't take it too serious because it's supposed to be fun. It's a lot of oxymorons in there. And yeah, just thank you. I appreciate you for watching this video, and hopefully I'll meet you on the other side of your awakening.